Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and today I have 5 new affordable fragrances that I've just recently added to my collection, and today I'm going to share my initial thoughts on all 5 of them. 2 of them come from the brand of Khadlaj, 2 from Haramain and 1 from Mauboussin. The first two that I'm going to talk about will be both scents from the brand of Haramain. Now both of them are part of the Detour series of fragrances. Originally I've only had Detour Noir in my collection, and I remember I'm going to start with Detour Rouge. Now this is an interesting fragrance. When I got my very first bottle of Detour Noir like almost 3 years ago, I saw this one being sold online as well, but I didn't know what to expect out of this one, so I bought only Detour Noir because at that point that was the hyped up clone of Layton, the cheapest hyped up clone of Layton available. And later on this pretty much disappeared from the markets, and I never got the chance to actually explore Detour Rouge. But I've seen lately that it has started to pop up again at some sites, and I just out of curiosity I ordered this one. Now there's been much confusion about this particular fragrance, because if you look it up on Fragrantica, you'll see that a lot of people actually think that this is the same juice from Detour Noir inside this bottle, just rebranded with a different name. And to be honest, that's not the case. I'm not sure if at some point in time it was actually the case, but this is not, you know, just a rebranded bottle of Detour Noir. This is a completely different fragrance, and it's not a very good one. Let me start with that. First of all, the build quality is very poor. I don't know if you can see, but when I try to pull the cap, I'm actually pulling the whole plastic collar that's wrapped around the cap as well. So I have to be careful and just do it like this, because otherwise I can pretty much destroy the whole bottle. So the build quality is very poor with this fragrance, unfortunately, but it's a very cheap one. It was the cheapest one in here. I paid something like 11-12 euros, so less than $15. The sprayer though is actually quite good and feels pressurized for some reason. So Haramain decided to go with a very ugly and very low quality bottle design, but equipped the fragrance with a pressurized sprayer. So, you know, who would guess that? And the scent itself, it's a very synthetic smelling fragrance. Now in the opening I pick up a hint of some fruity sweetness. Also there's a bit of a bergamot freshness. There's some lavender and some spices in the opening of this fragrance. It has a bit of a green touch as well, but again it feels very synthetic, especially in the first few minutes. It's almost unbearable. Also this smells very musky right from the moment you spray it. Now I'm not sure what this is cloning. I've never come across a fragrance that smells similar to Detour Rouge, so I'm not sure if this is a clone or an original fragrance from the brand of Haramain, but definitely this is pretty much unpleasant, especially in the first few minutes. When this settles down after a few like 30 minutes or an hour, it becomes a little bit easier to wear. It still remains fruity, slightly fresh and very musky, and it develops this sort of a soapy vibe as well on the dry down, but still smells very synthetic. But the first few minutes are really bad in my opinion. Now I'm not going to judge it at the moment because I've had this for only like a day or two. I'm going to give it some time just to see if a bit of maceration will help with the actual scent profile. But my initial thoughts on Detour Rouge are that this fragrance should be avoided, at least for the moment. The next one featured in today's video is the much more recognizable, much more known Detour Noir Exclusif. This, of course, is a clone of Parfum de Marly's Layton Exclusif. Now, this is nothing new. It was released around about 1 year ago, I think, but for a very long time this was pretty much impossible to find around here where I live, and I was last week able to find it in a seller that delivers to my country, so I ordered it because, again, out of curiosity. This again, of course, is a clone of Layton Exclusif. This also has a good sprayer, although the other one seems a little bit better, and the whole build quality of the whole bottle actually feels way better. It still has this very ugly bottle design, but at least the plastic and everything else feels of a lot higher quality. And I can tell you that this definitely smells like Layton Exclusif, but again it's not a straight up clone of Layton Exclusif, especially in the opening and on the dry down as well. The opening here feels a lot more balsamic than what I get out of Layton Exclusif. It's still dark, maybe even slightly darker than Layton Exclusif itself. It doesn't have pretty much nothing fresh in the opening. There's some sweet aspects to it. There's a strong almond note which is strong throughout the life of this fragrance. It also feels very woody and very spicy, with a hint of a greenness as well somewhere in the background. This feels a little bit sweeter than Late and Exclusif, feels a little bit more balsamic than Late and Exclusif in the opening. And this is probably where, at least from my initial impressions, this is where this feels the closest to Late and Exclusif. On the dry down, this goes into a little bit of a different direction because it loses a bit of that balsamic feel, it loses some of that woodiness, becomes a little bit soapy on the dry down, having almost this sort of a bluish type of scent, type of vibes on the dry down, making it feel quite different to Late and Exclusif. Now in the air it smells somewhat similar to Late and Exclusif, but definitely it's not a one-to-one clone or something that smells super similar to the original fragrance. Although I can definitely tell you that I immediately picked up on the original fragrance that this has been inspired by, but this is different. Again, I'm not going to judge it directly from the first few wearings. I'm going to give it some time to sit around and macerate and maybe improve with time, but this is not as close to Late and Exclusif as I expected it to be, but still has a lot better quality than the other Detour featured in this video. Now let's move on to the two fragrances from the brand of Khadlaj that I'm going to be talking about in today's video. The first one is called Karos Amber Gold. I think there's a whole line of fragrances with this bottle design with different colors. This is the first one out of the line that I'm actually getting. The bottle design is nice. From a distance it looks really nice, but actually up close it feels quite plasticky and not of very high quality, but at least from a distance it has a decent look. The sprayer is alright, nothing spectacular, but it does its job. And this particular fragrance is inspired by Matière Noir from the brand of Louis Vuitton. Now I don't have that much experience with the original scent, but I remember how it smells. I also own a clone of that fragrance from Maison Alhambra as well, and I can definitely pick up that this smells very similar to the original scent. It's a unisex fragrance that definitely leans to the feminine side, but at least this one, compared to the Maison Alhambra, feels a little bit more unisex. It's a bit fruity, it's very floral. There's a lot of floral notes in here. There's some jasmine, there's a strong rose note that doesn't feel sharp, in fact feels quite nice. There's some fruity sweetness, a bit of ambers, and also there's some agar oud in this fragrance, along with some incense. It smells very nice actually, and very sophisticated, as long as you don't mind wearing something that has a bit of a feminine feel to it. I can't talk much about performance, at least for the moment, because I've had them only for a day or two, but definitely this seems to be more on the stronger side. Definitely smells very nice, and the opening, there's no harshness or alcohol blast or anything like that. And if you are okay with fragrances that rely on a lot of floral notes, if you don't mind the note of rose and the note of agar oud that's accompanied by some sweetness from amber and things like that, and you don't mind a little bit of an incense in your fragrances, then definitely I think this one smells quite interesting, quite elegant, and I've been enjoying this one so far. And the second fragrance from the brand of Khadlaj that I'm featuring today is called Valor Chivalry. This one is an interesting clone of Nishane Hashivat. I'm a big fan of the original fragrance, I really like it a lot, and this actually turned out to be a very decent clone of Hashivat. Now I don't own a lot of clones of Hashivat that are straight up clones of Hashivat, because Hashivat smells similar to Creed Aventus as well, and that's the more popular fragrance when it comes to clone brands. And this is a nice sort of a breath of fresh air, because this definitely feels closer to Hashivat. It opens up in a very nice citrusy, slightly spicy, bright way that has quite a bit of oak moss directly after you spray it, but this one just lacks a bit of that freshness that Hashivat has in the opening, a little bit of that brightness of Hashivat in the opening. This feels a little bit darker, maybe a hint more spicy, a hint greener than Hashivat itself, but definitely smells close to Hashivat. Again, I really like the original scent. On the dry down is where this actually becomes very similar to Hashivat. It becomes more woody, you still get a bit of that citrusy freshness from the opening, but it becomes very mossy, it becomes very woody, there's some patchouli, and you also get a bit of ambers that give this one a bit of sweetness. and you still retain a bit of the green touch from the opening, and this definitely on the dry down smells very similar to Hashivat. Again, I can't talk much about performance, but so far this seems to have pretty decent performance as well. The quality again is very nice, there's no harshness or anything like that in the opening, and this seems to be an interesting offering from the brand of Khadlaj. And the last fragrance that I'm going to be talking about today is Mauboussin Star for Men. This is a very interesting budget offering from the brand of Mauboussin that's been making some circles around and getting some traction, getting some hype, because this is a very affordable fragrance that smells actually very nice. I was looking for this one for some time before I was finally able to find it in stock. I bought it a few weeks ago. This has been the one that I have a little bit more experience with, so I can share a few more thoughts about this one, and I can definitely tell you that I really like this particular fragrance. Good sprayer, has an interesting thing that you can call a cap, although it's not exactly a cap. An interesting fact here is the bottle size. This one is 90 milliliters. Everything else that I'm showing you today is 100 milliliters. But I got this one as a part of a gift set that included an additional 20 milliliter pocket size bottle and some shower gel and things like that. But the original bottle on its own is 90 milliliters. And the scent itself, now a lot of people compare this fragrance to Parfum de Marly's Layton. And I can tell you that this brings such vibes, but this is definitely not a clone of Layton, just something done in a vaguely similar style. It opens up a very warm and very spicy. There's a lot of cardamom in the opening of this fragrance, a lot of black pepper, maybe a hint of fruity sweetness, but that's one of the major differences between this and Layton, because Layton has a strong apple note. This one maybe has just a hint of some fruity apple sweetness in the opening, maybe a hint of incense as well, but this feels a lot less sweet compared to Layton itself. It also lacks the green touch of Layton. This has pretty much no green aspects to it. There's no geranium and stuff like that. This is more on the woodier side, more on the spicier side, more on the ambery side. It doesn't get, there's a bit of vanilla and ambers on the dry down, but definitely this feels more on the ambery side about the sweetness, and it's definitely more woody compared to Layton itself. It's a very interesting fragrance. It has a bit of a sort of a pencil vibes out of it. It's like slightly dry wood type of a scent, and on the dry down it also carries a bit of old school barber shoppy vibe for some reason for me, but definitely smells very nice, very warm. Again, don't think of this one as being a clone of Layton. Yes, it smells somewhat similar to Layton, but it's also very different. This is less sweet, it's less green, this is more spicy, more woody. Definitely feels like a slightly more, how to call it, slightly more mature version of something done in a similar style of Layton. And it's actually being very nice, very cozy scent, and I've been enjoying this one quite a lot ever since I got it. Performance wise, here I can share a few more thoughts because I've given it a few full wears, and performance wise this is more on the average side, maybe slightly above average. I'll be getting about 6.5, maybe even up to 7 hours of performance, so definitely not a strong fragrance. Also doesn't project very loudly, but I can forgive it because this is a cheap scent and it smells very nice, and I really like the scent of this one. So guys, in today's video I shared with you my first impressions on 5 new fragrances for my collection. 2 from Haramain, 2 from Khadlaj, and 1 from Mauboussin. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.